All right, guys. Hey, welcome. Mars versus Venus. Today we're going to be talking about DNA differences in health and what affects guys and what affects girls. And if you got any questions about anything, call the office 865-357-2600 or go to victoryhealthcenter.com. So I think the first thing that we got to understand is that sexual chromosomes or sex chromosomes, they designate a female or male. There is a gender health bias. So you are either a male or a female. And there are very rare instances when there is a you know a problem with it, and some people do carry genetics of both, but it's pretty rare. And so today, really, what we want to cover is what determines the maturation of the female male reproductive systems, the associated characteristics of being a male or female, and some of the health problems that go along with that. And so females have two X chromosomes, one from each parent, and males have only one X chromosome, one from mom and one Y chromosome from dad. And the sex chromosomes determine, for one, the sex of a child, the set of instructions for how to develop as a male or a female. The sex differentiation process is the development of gonads into testes or ovaries, which determines other internal reproductive structures and external genitalia and non-gonadal sex differences. There's a doctor at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine in Baltimore. Her name's Dr. Barbara Midgen. She says that over 1,000 genes reside on the X chromosome, and therefore are X-linked genes. She continues, whereas only 100 genes reside on the male chromosome, which makes females more susceptible to hormone-related diseases, and males are at more risk for health conditions related to mutations in the DNA. And there's a study mapping the sex differences by RNA sequencing found that thousands of genes are expressed differently in the reproductive tracts and tissues common to both sexes. Even though we have the same tissues, the genes in these tissues may not express themselves the same way. And this provides us with information on human physiology and its relation to health and disease pathology. The sex chromosomes cause females and males to differ in many ways and impact one's health and risk for certain health conditions, including diseases and mental issues. Biologically, reproductive systems, height, weight, external genitalia, all of that impacts how men and women metabolize food and medications. Women evolved as hunters or as gatherers and are mature to be able to procreate. That means that they have babies and they have breasts and, for instance, more body fat because of estrogen that regulates the white adipose tissue. Women are simply have more fat than men do. Men evolved as hunters and have more muscle mass than females, so they can plow a field or flight from an emergency situation or fight when it's time to fight. These differences are impacted by circulating gonadal steroid levels and account for some of the metabolic dissimilarities observed between males and females. Men are larger, have more muscle than women due to the hormone testosterone. They are genetically designed to have a higher percentage of muscle and less fat than women and must therefore eat more, but can also lose weight quicker than women can. This is why your husband loses weight when you can't. One clinical study put 2,224 individuals on a weight loss plan, and weight loss was 16% greater in men than in women. However, improvements in insulin resistance were very similar. That means that their body was able to burn off sugar and start to burn fat. Another study had men and women follow different commercial diets such as Atkins, Slim Fast, Weight Watchers, and found that after 2 months, men had lost twice as much weight as the women and 3 times as much body fat. But again, after 6 months, the weight loss had evened out. What that suggests is that men are initially able to lose weight faster than women, but eventually both can lose weight equally if following the same protocol. One Life Science article described this primitive state as male and female bodies are well designed for each gender's role in a primitive society. Women are built for carrying and birthing children and must have wider hips and keep extra fat in store for the ordeal of pregnancy. Men, free from the requirement of childbirth, benefit from being as strong and as lithe as possible, both in their search for food and when in competition with other men. The brain manifests differently in males and females. Research demonstrates evidence that there exists small neuroanatomical differences in the brain, such as the corpus callosum, which is responsible for aggression. It's been found that females have 20% fewer dopaminergic where dopamine is involved with motor activity. There are neurochemical sexual differences in the brain, as such as the opioid system. Opioids are generally more effective in males than in females, and women have been researched to use addictive drugs at lower levels than men. This makes sense. Males have a denser nucleus in the lateral septum, part of their limbic system. Once again, continues with their aggression. Males have more cartilage surrounding their voice box, which appears as an Adam's apple, and testosterone correlates with deeper voices. Males' average weight is 197 pounds versus women's average weight is 170.6. Males' height 5 feet 9 inches versus women 5 feet 3.7 inches. Waist circumference, the average for men is 40 inches versus a woman is 38.2. So there are differences in the biology of males and females. Given the link between the brain and the body, males and females have several sex-specific psychological traits. Male gonads secrete hormones, testosterone specifically, that affect biochemical processes in the brain and is expressed as aggression, whereas estrogen doesn't necessarily change women's moods, but it interacts differently in the area of the brain that controls mood. It increases serotonin, it modifies the production of effects of endorphins, and protects the nerves from damage, which explains why women may be more emotionally vulnerable during menstruation, and why after menopause, when estrogen levels drop, women's moods actually sometimes improve. You might have heard that men and women are more right brain and women are more left brain, but there is a genetic rationale for this. One study found that men perform better on specific visual spatial aspects as mental rotation, and women perform better on verbal tasks such as fluency. Genes encoded on the sex chromosomes have been also found to directly influence the development of the brain and sex-specific behaviors. For instance, the part of the central nervous system connected to control social behavior like aggression has 2 to 3 times cells in males than in females. Once again, men and women are different, and I think that, and I hope that you're really starting to realize this. Males and females differ in ways they metabolize medications, as well as their response to certain pharmaceuticals. Due to anatomical differences, men and women, men are more frequently women are smaller, weigh less, and they're more frequently overdosed. Also contributing to this, clearance from the body is slower. Women are more sensitive to pharmacodynamics and take greater amounts of medications. Gastric alcohol dehydrogenase activity is higher in males than in females, so men can drink more than women before experiencing the effects. Given the biological, psychological differences and the different genetic influences on males and females have different health concerns, different symptomologies, different for some diseases, and you have to implement different methods for disease prevention as well as obtaining overall health. The female health concerns, there are many, but these are the ones that we're going to talk about today. I think the first one is that women are concerned about menopause, and with menopause, osteoporosis and the things that come along with that. Menopause is the loss of estrogen and testosterone changes in the body, and it changes your sexual drive as well. Osteoporosis, the reason that this is related to menopause is because estrogen protects the bones, but decreases sharply when women reach menopause, and this can cause bone loss. Osteoporosis is characterized by the systematic impairment of bone mass strength and microarchitecture, which leads to fractures. It means porous bones. Women, what should you look for during menopause? Well, you're looking for irregular periods, hot flashes, night sweats, being moody, forgetful, low sex drive. And if you're concerned about osteoporosis, then this is what you should look for. Do you have back pain caused by a fracture or collapsed vertebra, or do you have back pain that is potentially going to be a fracture or collapsed vertebra? Loss of height over time, a stooped posture, and bone fractures that occur more easily than suspected. You may be dealing with osteoporosis today. core strategies to help you during menopause and to help you prevent osteoporosis. Number one is chiropractic. We know that an article in obstetrics and gynecology reported several menopausal symptoms of hot flashes, aches, joint pain, and stiffness. Poor sleep, that chiropractic care can actually help by increasing mobility. We know as far as nutrition goes that along with a high quality nutrient dense diet, there are other nutrients that support menopause. Number one, calcium. Your body loses estrogen during menopause, and estrogen helps regulate bone turnover, which with the loss of estrogen, calcium needs to increase during menopause because of the loss of estrogen can speed up your bone loss. We know that women need vitamin D because it works with calcium to protect your bones. You can get it from your son, but that's probably not enough, so you may need to supplement vitamin D. We know that soy foods, specifically fermented soy, help relief for hot flashing. And then at the clinic, we have a maximized living or a MaxLiving core plan and advanced plan. We have nutrition plans for everyone that comes in the clinic, but the main point of it is to decrease the inflammation. Women need physical activity, and it's been demonstrated to reduce hot flashes associated with menopause. This includes frequent physical activity, walking, jogging, bicycling, swimming for 30 minutes at a time. Moderate intensity aerobic exercise 5 days a week seems to be the key schedule and the key time. So 5 days a week is about the amount that you should be exercising. We want to minimize toxins, especially endocrine disrupting chemicals. One study found that women associated had high levels of chemicals with earlier age of menopause. That means that the more chemicals that you have, the more that your body's going to age, and it's going to age faster. Sources of endocrine disrupting chemicals, ladies, you got to get off of plastic bottles, packaged foods that can contain traces due to the processing and storage process, metal food cans, detergents, flame retardants, different foods, toys, cosmetics. You got to check your makeups and pesticides. Be careful about using them in any part of your life. As far as osteoporosis goes, you need vitamin B12. You also need vitamin K. It plays a role in the carboxylation of osteocalcin, which is a bone-specific protein. It supports bone mineralization. We don't just take calcium by itself. You take it with calcium and magnesium, or you take calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, or vitamin K. And specifically K2. Magnesium is involved in numerous biological reactions, including metabolism of food, but also metabolism of calcium. It supports bone strength and firmness, and so you want to take a magnesium supplement. You may want to take a potassium supplement. Potassium helps with calcium absorption, and evidence shows a protective effect on age-related bone loss. And then always coming back, you've got to avoid alcohol and avoid high amounts of caffeine. Both of those decrease calcium absorption. So if you're a woman out there worried about osteoporosis, be diligent about getting off of your coffees, your teas, and especially your alcohols. Another concern that a lot of females have at Victory is thyroid problems, and we see a lot of women with hormone issues, and hypothyroidism is the number one thing that we see for female hormones. Hypothyroidism is more common in women than men due to what's called Hashimoto's thyroidism or thyroiditis, and it's the most common cause of hypothyroidism in the United States. It's 10 times more likely to affect women than men. Hypothyroidism is an autoimmune disease, mainly marked by a slow metabolism. So women, what you look for if you're concerned about thyroid problems, have you dealt with one or more of these that I'm going to share with you today? Thinning hair, heavier than normal or irregular menstrual cycles. Do you have a puffy face even though you're not normally swollen? Weight gain, dry skin, constipation, increased sensitivity to cold, fatigue, muscle weakness, elevated blood cholesterol level. Those are all signs that something's going on with your thyroid. Now, there's a common sign of thyroid problems, which is persistent neck pain, and because of the inflamed and swollen thyroid. And we know that misalignments between the vertebra between C3 and C7 in your neck, it can cause swelling and inflammation in those thyroid problems, and so you want to make sure that those nerves are taken care of. A long-term hypothyroidism can cause peripheral nerve damage, and the results in pain and numbness and even tingling in those affected areas and the nerves that that go to it. So you may have tingling numbness in your hands today, and that's because of a thyroid problem. We know that chiropractic care can help alleviate pain, swelling by aligning the spine and removing interference in the communication between the brain and the body. If you're worried about food, we want to increase your protein intake. It helps to boost your metabolism because it helps once satiated and stimulates thermogenesis, which also helps in healthy weight loss. One study found that pea protein hydrolysate was effective in suppressing hunger, followed by whey protein as compared to milk protein. Studies link a lack of iodine in one's diet as supportive in the development of hypothyroidism. So consider taking a multivitamin today to increase your iodine consumption. Selenium helps to mitigate inflammation in the thyroid, and evidence suggests that supplementation with selenium for those with thyroid issues should eat meat and eggs regularly. Zinc is a trace element essential for normal levels of thyroid hormone, and B vitamins play a role in many physiological interactions and are important in thyroid function and hormone regulation. Research finds that regular physical exercise increases T3 levels, or it's a thyroid hormone is T3 and T4. Regular exercise helps to increase T3 levels. And so as far as toxins go, similar to menopause, you've got to avoid the endocrine disrupting chemicals. One study finds that women associated with high levels of these chemicals, not only early age of menopause, but also thyroid damage. And once again, endocrine disrupting chemicals can be found in metal food cans, detergents, and even flame retardants. So you want to make sure that even your mattresses and your clothes are clean and toxin free. Women deal with depression, and it's a serious medical illness that affects how you feel. And depression is twice as common in women than in men. And one study suggests that the sexual differences in depression rates reflects the fact that men and women are simply different. Women have 2 copies of the X chromosome, while men have 1 copy of each X and Y. The latter may not be present in women, and researchers suggest that changes in ovarian hormones can explain an increased prevalence in depression in women, as well as the presence of androgen receptors in males may be a protective in warding off depression for men. So women, what are you looking for depression? Well, do you have trouble concentrating, remembering details, making decisions? Do you have fatigue, or do you deal with pessimism or hopelessness? Do you deal with insomnia or early morning wakefulness or sleeping too much? Are you irritable? Do you have feelings of guilt, worthlessness, and helplessness? Loss of interest in the things that you used to find pleasurable. All of those are signs that you're dealing with depression today. As far as nutrition goes, and as far as a strategy to help with your depression, vitamin C is an antioxidant that helps to prevent free radical damage in the brain cells. And so vitamin C if you're depressed today. Omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA, which the body converts into DHA, is found in fish oil and has an illicit effect in humans. And so people use antidepressants, but you can also use fish oil. Did you know this? 5-HTP is a precursor, also known as tryptophan, is a precursor to serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter considered to be a natural mood stabilizer. I know there's a lot of people out there that actually take 5-HTP for headaches, and that's one of the things that if you take 5-HTP for headaches, that's a hormonal headache that you're probably having. Vitamin B12 promotes functioning of the frontal lobe. Folate, patients with depression have been tested to have lower blood levels of folate. Folate's that supplement that women take a lot of times during pregnancy. We know that the power of the mind to determine one's health and well-being has been focused on since ancient times. The mind of the body, and I see this a lot nowadays, is mindfulness. The mind and the body are connected, and what one believes can manifest and be expressed in the body. Your brain and your body, they work together, and it's really just one functional unit. So trying your best to have a positive mindset, focusing on being happy, focusing on having gratitude, spending time in nature, performing yoga, all of these help to improve your mood and depressive symptoms. So having a positive mindset helps you to build your resilience, and really gives you healthy ways to cope with stress. We know that as far as exercise goes, when you exercise, neurochemicals called endorphins are produced in the brain's hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Endorphins are your body's natural opioids, or your mood enhancing pain reduction hormones, and these have been studied since the 1900s for depression. We know that as far as toxins go, conventionally grown produce toxins, there are a total of 230 different pesticides in the food, and nearly 70% of the samples conventionally grown produce are contaminated with pesticide residues. These do lead to psychiatric symptoms, including depression. Pesticides are found on conventionally grown fruits and vegetables in grocery store, and perhaps the apple that you ate for lunch or the spinach salad that you had for dinner may be causing you to have psychiatric problems. Eat foods that are organic as much as possible, and you want to avoid the EWG's dirty dozen. So you can look that up, EWG.org. That's the Environmental Working Group. They list foods that are toxic and that are clean, and so you can go get that today. There's a lot of women out there. We're so concerned about breast cancer. I think that probably we should be more concerned about heart disease for women, but this is something that is out of control, and breast cancer is out of control, and it's the out of control growth, in fact, of tumors from the breast cells that metastasize quickly. Most breast cancers begin in the ducts that carry milk to the nipple, or the glands that make milk. The breastcancer.org website showcases statistics about the U.S. population and reveals that 1 in 8 women, or about 12.4%, will develop invasive breast cancer over their lifetime. And so why are women, though, more at risk for breast cancer than men? Well, women's breast development takes 3 to 4 years, whereas men's breasts rarely complete form. Breast cells are very immature and highly active until the woman's first full-term pregnancy. And when mature, women's breast cells are very responsive to estrogen, including hormone disruptors in the environment, whereas men's are inactive and really contain lower levels of estrogen. You should look for, you have to perform monthly breast evaluations and be aware of changes in your breast. Now, if you did have breast cancer, you can go get tested using thermography versus a mammogram. There are lots of ways to deal with the screening of breast cancer besides the painful radiation that comes with mammogram. Because cancer causes stress on the musculoskeletal system, being under the care of a chiropractor can help you reduce the stress and physical discomfort by alleviating symptoms of back pain and neck pain, headaches, painful walking, neuropathy, and even nausea that comes along with the treatment. If you decide to do radiation or chemotherapy for your breast cancer, we know that a diet high in plant foods such as lettuce, spinach, Swiss chard, endives are rich sources in fiber, antioxidants, and phytochemicals, which all help to fight inflammation and also decrease the risk of cancer. The Journal of American Dietetic Association reviews of cancer prevention foods identifies the following to be the top protectors of cancer: raw vegetables, including allium vegetables, onions, and garlic; green vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, and tomatoes. The World Health Organization, International Agency for Research on Cancer, classifies that these foods are carcinogenic: alcohol, processed meats, charred foods from chemicals, eating burnt meat is cancer causing. Added sugar, although not directly linked to cancer, sugar adds unhealthy calories, which leads to obesity and increases one's risk for cancer. And sugar is a fuel source for a lot of cancer, so you got to be careful about if you do have cancer today, you're going to be giving it energy and helping it grow by consuming sugar. The American Cancer Society considers emotions to perpetuate cancer based on research and how cancer starts and grows. And so your mind has a lot to do with cancer. Having a positive mindset, being optimistic can improve cancer outcomes, and if in fact that you do have cancer today. Male health concerns. There are a lot of guys out there that actually they are concerned about their health. I know that typically the women in the family are the ones that control the health care, but these are the things that guys. You've really got to be careful about. Number one is that high blood pressure or hypertension is simply that it's having too high of high blood pressure due to excessive weight or excessive inflammation in the arteries. We know that high blood pressure is sometimes referred to as a silent killer because there are evident symptoms. They're not evident symptoms until it becomes dangerous. Hypertension gradually increases the pressure of blood flowing through your arteries and can result in damage to narrowed arteries, aneurysms, and even heart attacks. The best method for knowing if you have high blood pressure is to get it checked. Prevention and health strategies for high blood pressure for men or for women. Chiropractic adjustments, if you believe it or not, specifically the realignment of the atlas vertebra, it's the top vertebra in your neck, has been demonstrated to significantly lower high blood pressure, having the same effects of 2 blood pressure medications. The doctor who performed that 8-week study called the atlas vertebra the fuse box to the body because if the atlas vertebra is out of alignment, just slightly, it causes interference with the areas of the brain that control all the muscles of the body. As far as nutrition goes, you want to opt for a low sodium intake. High sodium, such as that which comes from your table salt, puts pressure on your kidneys as they filter 120 quarts of blood a day. Extra fluid can build up in your system and increase your blood pressure, so try not adding salt to your foods. Whole grains, fibers in whole grains have been researched to lower systolic blood pressure, so you don't want whole wheat, you want whole grain breads if you're going to do that. Fish oil and flaxseed both contain omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure, according to Berkeley University, California. Magnesium. Several studies conclude that magnesium significantly lowers blood pressure in individuals with certain metabolic conditions, such as pre-diabetes, diabetes, and insulin resistance. And then as far as your mindset goes, Tai Chi is researched to have blood pressure lowering effects on elderly people, and Harvard Medical School considers reducing stress as a way to reduce your blood pressure. And then, of course, exercise. Do whatever it takes you to get moving. You've obviously heard that, and you know this. Exercise helps improve your heart health and all the functions associated with your heart. We know that regular physical activity has been demonstrated to improve high blood pressure. Listen, guys, you can lower your blood pressure by exercising a little bit, or you can just take that poison, also known as a medication. And that I think that as Americans, we've been suckered into thinking that pill, potion, lotion takes care of our problems, but that's not true at all. We know that guys have concern with high cholesterol. High cholesterol is a buildup of fatty deposits in your blood vessels. It can lead to atherosclerosis, which is a dangerous accumulation of cholesterol and other deposits on the walls of the arteries. Cholesterol gets a bad rap because of individuals having high cholesterol, which many times is a catalyst for heart attacks or strokes. We know that cholesterol is a waxy, fat-like substance that your liver produces and need it for the formation of cell membranes. You need it to absorb vitamin D and make vitamin D, and other hormones are dependent on your amount of cholesterol in your body. We know that there are 2 types of cholesterol, LDL and HDL. Bad cholesterol can build up in the arteries, leads to heart attacks and strokes. LDL or HDL, which is good cholesterol, helps to return that LDL back to the liver for elimination. And so these are the things that you look for. The unfortunate part of high cholesterol is that there's not really any symptoms. It's kind of like high blood pressure. You got to know your numbers. Everyone 20 years or older should get screened for high cholesterol by some type of practitioner. You need to know where your numbers are. The way people get high cholesterol is by eating too much fat. ultimately, which increases the LDL cholesterol in the blood. When LDL is too high or LDL is too low, fatty acids build up in your bloodstream, which causes more serious health issues and eventually will show up on your blood test. Strategies for getting your cholesterol down: you want to eat nuts such as almonds and pine nuts, which help to improve cholesterol by lowering your LDL. You want to eat foods high in fiber, which help to lower LDL as well. Those can be found in kidney beans and even Brussels sprouts and eggplant. A combination of aerobic exercise and resistance training on a regular basis can increase levels of HDL cholesterol and lower your triglyceride levels. And we're really worried about your ratio of HDL to LDL. The American Heart Association recommends an average of 40 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensive aerobic activity 3 to 4 days a week, and they note that 1 in 5 adults and teens get enough exercise to maintain your health. And so these are good strategies for lowering your cholesterol. There's another problem that guys deal with, which is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's the most common form of chronic liver disease in the United States. It affects between 80 and 100 million people. And here's why: excess weight. Excess fat, it causes extra fat to get stored in the liver and associated with what's called dyslipidemia, abnormally high LDL cholesterol levels and low HDL levels, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Fatty liver disease many times coincides with other health conditions that we've already talked about here today: high blood pressure, high levels of cholesterol, insulin resistance, large amounts of belly fat. You're probably dealing with a fatty liver. Symptoms may include enlarged liver, fatigue, or in pain in the upper right abdomen. Advanced signs include abdominal swelling, enlarged breast in men, enlarged spleen, red palms, and yellowing of the skin is also known as jaundice. And so health strategies for guys that are dealing with health problems: you got to get off the fried foods. We got to eliminate prepackaged foods. We eliminate red processed meat, high sugar breakfasts like donuts, bagels, and biscuits. You got to eliminate your fast food, and you really got to just in general avoid the foods that are known as the Western diet. You want to take vitamin C. A Journal of Chiropractic Medicine study reports that vitamin C supplementation can reduce LDL and lower triglycerides. Vitamin C can also help you from the oxidation of that LDL cholesterol, which prevents it from building up in your bloodstream. Omega-3 fatty acids: a meta-analysis was conducted to assess the effect of omega-3 fatty acid supplementation on metabolic syndrome health conditions. And MaxFit is a supplement that we have at Victory. It contains green coffee bean extract and ashwagandha extract. Coffee's been linked to help lower obesity, insulin resistance, and inflammation, which can also help you to protect yourself from liver disease. As far as diet goes, is what we would call the advanced plan. Is for those who need cognitive, metabolic, and immune support. And so, it really focuses on legumes and nuts and clean, good milks and yogurts, meat, fish, eggs, seeds, dark leafy greens, vegetables, reducing the number and the consumption of inflammatory foods, and promoting the use of fat instead of sugar for fuel. This is what keto is based on. This is what a lot of paleo is based on, and really just making sure that you got to get your grains out and only doing low sugar fruits like berries in your smoothies and those kind of things. The goal when having fatty liver disease is ultimately to lose the weight, and regular exercise helps you lose extra weight, manages your liver disease, and lowers your cholesterol levels. And so there's one study that found that 8 weeks of resistance training reduced liver lipids in participants by 13%. Another found that increased physical activity in conjunction with a healthy diet has hepatic clearing benefits on patients when a 3 to 10% reduction in body weight is achieved. Eliminate alcohol, guys. Consuming alcohol when your liver is already struggling only leads to more damage. Male health concerns including prostate care. And so, about 1 in 9 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during his lifetime, according to the American Cancer Society. The prostate is a small walnut-shaped gland in men that produces seminal fluid and nourishes and transports sperm. Cancer develops in this gland. This statistically happens in older men. The average age at diagnosis is around 66 to 68 years old. About 1 in 41 men will die from prostate cancer. And so these are the things that you should look for today. Number one, a need to urinate frequently, especially at night, sometimes urgently, difficulty starting and holding back urination, weak dribbling, interrupted flow, painful or burning urination, difficulty in having an erection, painful ejaculation, pressure or pain in your rectum. Although the evidence is not clear, there are many risk factors to be aware of, including age, race. Prostate cancer and prostate problems occur more often in African American men, Caribbean men of African ancestry than any men in other races. Family history, obesity, smoking, and chemical exposure are all things to be concerned about. The amount of PSA or prostate-specific antigen in a man's blood is tested for abnormalities. This is generally the prostate test or the blood test that men get. Now, as far as taking care of it, here's what we know for sure. Men who are overweight have an increased risk for fatal prostate cancer. We want to be eating things like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, beans and legumes and fish. We know that when you have damage to your nervous system, that chiropractic care helps to reduce the stress of those nerves that go into those tissues. Listen, if you're having low back pain, sciatica today, those are the same nerves that help to heal that tissue that's down below. And so you want to make sure that you're getting to a chiropractor, getting that checked. Another nutrition review study emphasized that sticking with a high quality, healthy diet is promising in reducing the mortality rate of prostate cancer. We want to recommend today that you do something like a green coffee bean extract or ashwagandha. We know that coffee has a chlorogenic acid that contributes to an antioxidant effect. So we want to have green coffee bean. Curcumin, its protective effects by inducing the expression of antioxidant enzymes that directly extinguish free radicals. And when you're talking about cancer, you are concerned about free radical damage. The World Health Organization, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies these foods as carcinogenic. So once again, charred meats, BPA, alcohol, you've got to be watching out for this. And then physical activity has been researched to reduce the risk of prostate cancer because it impacts biological processing, including anti-inflammatory and insulin pathways. There's a study from the Chan School of Public Health that said that men who engage in long-term vigorous exercise had a 30% lower risk of developing advanced prostate cancer and 25% lower risk of developing lethal prostate cancer when compared with men who exercise the least. Another study found that post-diagnosis physical activity lowered the risk of mortality among men who had prostate cancer. And then the American Cancer Society considers emotions to perpetuate cancer based on research on how cancer starts and grows. So once again, having a good mindset, this is over and over and over again, having a good mindset, eating good fats, doing things like anti-inflammatories, curcumin specifically. Curcumin has protective effects by inducing the expression of antioxidant enzymes, directly extinguishing free radicals. So now we're going to cover heart disease. This is something that we actually all have in common, and so male and females. Heart disease is an umbrella term for a range of heart conditions that affect your heart, including blood vessels, coronary artery disease, heart rhythm problems, arrhythmias, heart defects like congenital heart defects. The most common form of coronary is coronary heart disease or coronary artery disease, and it's characterized by having extra fat deposited into the walls of the heart's arteries. This is called plaque, and that leads to heart attacks. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that 1 in 4 deaths in America is annually due to heart disease. And the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says once you get heart disease, your arteries are permanently damaged. There's no real cure to the heart disease. Bypass surgeries can help increase blood and oxygen flow to your heart, but you do not want to get to this stage. That said, if you do have heart disease today, these are the natural methods that we use with our patients to help increase oxygenation in their bodies and ultimately help them improve their symptoms. And so here's what you should look for is concerning heart disease. Number one is that angina or chest pain is a feeling of discomfort, heaviness, pressure, aching, burning in your chest. It can also be mistaken for indigestion or heartburn, shortness of breath, palpitations, weakness or dizziness, sweating, blue or pale skin, swelling in the legs, abdomen, or around the ankles, dry or persistent cough, if related to an infection. All of these are critical signs of heart disease, and maybe actually experiencing a heart attack. And so you got to be careful about this. 50% of American population has high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or smoke, and those are medical conditions and medical problems, namely metabolic syndrome, that puts you at a higher risk for heart disease. And so men versus women. For men, men are more at risk earlier in life because estrogen has a protective benefit on the heart. Estrogen appears to promote blood circulation, increase HDL, and decrease LDL. Because women have a higher estrogen levels than men, men have a greater risk for heart disease earlier in life. For women, the risk of heart disease is really underestimated because it is presented in later in life and about 7 to 10 years later than men. Generally after menopause, when they lose the protective benefit of the estrogen. And so the average age of a heart attack for men is 66. For women, it's 70 after menopause. For men, when stressed, the arteries constrict and raise the blood pressure. For women, women's hearts are smaller than men's and pump faster, but they eject 10% less blood with each pump. And as a result, when stressed, women's heart rate increases and the heart pumps more blood. The symptoms for a heart attack for men are generally you experience the chest pain, the extreme fatigue, shortness of breath. For women, it's expressed a little bit differently. Unusual fatigue, sweating or shortness of breath, neck, jaw, or back pain. Women's symptoms are more subtle and present 3 to 4 weeks prior to having a heart attack. The diagnosis is generally a clinical presentation of heart disease in men. It's just easier to spot on non-invasive testing. Sometimes women have to have invasive testing to get to the root cause of their heart disease as well. The prevention and health strategies for this, number one, you have to eliminate all sugar. We know that refined sugar, such as even turbinado sugar, brown sugar, white sugar, and the worst of all sugars, high fructose corn syrup, has no nutritional value and is converted into glucose in the body. These refined sugars contribute to inflammation in your body and can lead to metabolic conditions that increase one's risk for heart disease. Eliminate damaged fats, rancid oils, trans fats, your processed vegetable oils, canola oils, soybean, corn oil. Those are full of trans fats, my friends, and they have to be eliminated to cause inflammation to go away from the body. You want to eat whole grains. We know that the fiber in whole grains has been researched to lower systolic blood pressure. Studies show that traditional diet, such as the hunter-gatherer diet, protect against cognitive impairment and reduces the risk of cardiovascular, neurodegenerative, and overall longer survival. And so you want to eat whole grains if you're going to be eating grains. Vitamin C, studied in the Journal of Chiropractic Medicine, reports that vitamin C supplementation lowers LDL. You want to moderate your intakes of proteins, of course, not fried chicken or fried foods. Although protein is essential for the brain and the heart, it's an essential for muscle protein synthesis included. Choosing high quality organic protein is critical for if you have heart disease, because the wrong protein ultimately contributes to obesity, insulin resistant inflammation. You want a clean grass-fed protein or a plant protein like a pea protein, and never genetically modified. You want it to be as organic as possible. Harvard Health tells us that people with a history of heart disease who also had a positive outlook were 1/3 less likely to have a heart attack and other cardiovascular events within 5 to 25 years than those with a more negative outlook. And for a long time, researchers have argued for a link between psychological traits and heart disease. Studies identify dispositional optimism as a potential causal factor for cardiovascular disease and related outcomes. And with that, increasing levels of optimism, there is evidence and reduction in the risk of coronary heart disease. So practice meditating, practice positive self-talk, practice going on a walk and getting outside and getting some exercise and getting your stress level in your mind down. We have 2 nutrition plans at the office. There's one that's called the Core Plan. It's got healthy fats and it's including full fat dairy. Core, you want to choose organic when possible. You want to consume higher sugar plant-based foods earlier in the day. However, you want to really do meat and vegetables at night. You want to choose naturally raised animal proteins, and you want to select whole over refined carbohydrates, meaning that ancient grains, pseudo grains, non-gluten grains. Always consume whole sprouted, stone ground versions if possible, and most importantly, fruits and vegetables over refined grains and sugars, and enjoying food until you're full. And so eat till you're full. A lot of times we don't get full in sugar because it messes our hormones up. And so the other plan that we have at Victory is basically getting off of olive grains and only doing low sugar fruits and berries. This helps with autoimmune conditions. This is the plan that we put every single person that comes in with some kind of disease or heart disease or something like that. This is the plan that they get put on. So it's similar to like a keto or a paleo diet. The supplements that I would have you taking today is a women's or a men's multivitamin. We know that the women's multivitamin should have support for breast, bone, skin, reproductive, cardiovascular health. These are the supplements that we use at Victory. They're MaxLiving supplements. For men, you want something with the saw palmetto or zinc in it, maybe a turmeric green tea or alpha lipoic acid. You want something that's going to help you with your endurance and your mental stamina. B complex and with a delayed release. This is the supplement that we have at Victory. It's a comprehensive vitamin B supplement providing 1,000 micrograms of vitamin B12. Now, B vitamins are rapidly depleted during times of stress. However, they are key components of the body's metabolic processes, including energy production. Deficiencies in B vitamins can include symptoms like fatigue and anemia, cognitive and mood issues. B complex vitamins are largely found in animal proteins, so vegans and vegetarians are very at risk for deficiency, and so you have to supplement B vitamins if you're a vegan or a vegetarian. We have a supplement called Optimal Omega. We know that just in general, omega-3 fatty acids help to improve immune system function. They promote healthy skin and heart. They help to reduce insulin resistance and inflammation, and they support cardiovascular health. This is a truth. This is not just a fad. It's not just a guess on my part. This is researched information that does help with heart disease, and it helps to lower your cholesterol as well. Earlier, I was talking about magnesium. Magnesium is a vital mineral that's involved in functions including 300 enzymatic reactions for the metabolism of food, for the synthesis of the fats that you eat and the proteins that you eat, and the transmission of nerve impulses. U.S. experts report that many people are not eating enough foods with magnesium, and so foods with magnesium in them are all around you, my friends. Here's the problem with not having enough magnesium: heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. I remember that one of my patients a while back, she had gone to Wake Forest to get cancer treatment, and that she was extremely low in magnesium, and so they were going to do a magnesium supplement, but they just simply chose to eat foods that were heavy in magnesium, and she got her numbers up, and she's one of the only people to go through the kind of treatment that she went through at Wake Forest without any kind of symptoms from the chemotherapy and radiation. And so magnesium was a big part of that. Vitamin C is a powerful and natural antioxidant. You got to have this if you're around power lines. You got to have it if you're a smoker. You got to have it if you have heart disease or inflammation in your body. Vitamin C works with the body's natural defense system and metabolism to nourish and repair tissues and to ward off diseases. We know that vitamin C supplementation reduces LDL as well, and it's also an essential component for collagen, which helps you to maintain good bones and joints, women, for when you're going through menopause. And so we have this as a bundle at the office. These are all the supplements that we recommend for you today. And so listen, this was a banger of a workshop, and it was a lot of information. So recommend that you just go back on a regular basis and listen to it again and just understand it. We have a lot of dinners and workshops at Victory. We have a women's workshop coming up. We've got a lot of stuff happening, so always make sure you're plugging in. If you want to plug into Victory, it's victoryworkshops.com, and we could probably fix that right there, don't you think? There you go. And then as far as getting to the clinic, if you ever want to be a patient at Victory, go to victoryhealthcenter.com. Call the office 865-357-2600. And at Victory Health Center is where Instagram lies. This is the website to the clinic at victoryhealthcenter.com. And then I think that's about it, y'all. I love you guys. Hope you guys have a great day. You've been listening to Dr. Jake with Victory Health Radio and victoryhealthcenter.com. Many blessings.